You're listening to the Unbelievers Podcast.
There were several groups. One of the principal ones was the reptilians from the Orion complex.
Without any exaggeration, it was like being on fire inside.
Rats were eating up inside.
This stuff was in my mouth. It felt like it was 500 degrees. It was unbelievably hot.
My first question would be, were you a member of the Church of Satan, a card-carrying member of the Church of Satan? I don't understand.
There's always an argument for everything. You know, just because somebody can fake something doesn't necessarily mean it's full.
And we found a life form. And that's when I started shitting my pants.
So for the person who called, I am carrying an alien.
An alien baby, and we cover it right here, okay?
Okay.
Something is happening. What is it? That's the question. So do UFOs exist? It depends on what you mean exist.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, was established in 1958 and was to have a distinctly civilian orientation, encouraging peaceful applications in space science. Most U.S. space exploration efforts have been led by NASA, including the Apollo moon missions, Skylab, and the Space Shuttle. Or so you thought. According to some, there are many, many other space programs, secret space programs. These SSPs have technology most would consider science fiction and are in contact with hundreds of alien civilizations across the galaxy. At the forefront of this secret space program knowledge is a man named David Wilcock, and we probe his extraordinary claims today on the program where you continue to learn to unlearn everything you know. Hello, and welcome to the Unbelievers Podcast. I'm your host, Russ Ryan, and I'm joined today by my co-host in California, Drea Mora. Hello, Drea.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, and we are also joined today in Ohio with our first-time co-host today, Brendan Shea. Hello, Brendan.
What's going on?
Oh, very happy to have you. And, of course, on Long Island, our soundboard engineer, Rob Oakey.
That looks like that's E.T.
Yes.
What's up, guys?
Hello, Rob. So, yes, today we have a new co-host who will be joining us for today, and that's Brendan, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. This is going to be a pretty fun show. I have a feeling we're going to be laughing our tail ends off.
Instant classic.
Yes. We're calling it now. Maybe classic, maybe not.
I retract mine straight up. Yeah.
I don't.
Good. You know.
Brendan has been on the show before. If for our listeners that will remember him, he was on the Ghost Adventures Haunted Museum Live episode 2. He came in as the Joshua P. Warren expert, and it was a lot of fun. But today, much like last week, coming off our first conspiracy, I'm going to say this is going to be our second conspiracy we're covering, the secret space program.
Nice.
It's so secret. It's so secret. Nobody knows about them, and we somehow are able to uncover the secrets. And
yeah,
I couldn't find a damn thing.
It's so secret. There's only thousands and thousands of videos about this.
Oh yeah, those.
Of course, and at the forefront, at the front of all this, we are focusing on a man named David Wilcock, and also his associate Corey Good, who we'll get into. But we'll mainly be focusing on the work of David Wilcock. So let's get into today's episode, Secret Space Program, the SSP, with David Wilcock. Thank you, Alex and the boys. That is Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. Now I feel like a radio DJ, but
I knew it. I was like, I bet Russ is going to use this opportunity to, sneak some Arctic monkeys in there. Hell yeah.
Well,
I love
that song is about moon bases, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But let's get into this man, this mystery, this conspiracy. Let's get into David Wilcock, and let's hear about the roots of something called Solar Warden. Now, this is the original group in the secret space program.
So the Solar Warden was the first faction. They now have technology that hasn't been updated since the 1980s. There was a major expansion of the space program in the 1980s, and I'll say this too. They have been doing all kinds of money laundering operations to try to funnel as much money up into space as they can to build all this stuff. So one of the earliest examples was the Korean War. The Korean War on the books is much more expensive than it actually cost. Then they did the Vietnam police action that becomes the Vietnam War. Why would they keep marching on the same hill and then order the soldiers to back off again? Why did they stay there for so long? To make it more expensive, to justify the defense budget. That had nothing to do with paying for the guns and the bombs. All that extra money was creamed off the top and put up in space. What do you think the Apollo moon missions were for? Money laundering. It cost much less to do Apollo than what they put on the books. Same thing with a lot of these other NASA programs. Same thing with advanced fighter jets. Oh, the stealth bomber costs $2 billion to make one jet. No, dude. In reality, maybe $500,000. It's not that hard. If you have the technology and you have the minerals, you can go dig them up. How hard is it to build a bomber?
I mean, easy. I can build me
Hey,
one
you
for $50,
you just go ahead and cream it off the top. You know what I mean?
Easy. I'll go dig up some bomber materials really quick in my backyard. I think I've got some. It should be easy.
Sure. You'll actually probably save money doing it. Yeah. So
yeah.
We're kind of jumping right into this topic because it's really the only way to do it. It's hard to even find a starting point, but so the secret space program, and what he's talking about is, well, he's talking about how this program is funded through military money laundering. He goes on to talk about how President Carter was screwed over to usher in Reagan, and then Reagan used Reaganomics, and then they amp up all this funding for all these secret space activities. And the first group he talks about is the one he's talking about here, Solar Warden. What do you think of that name, guys?
That's actually pretty sweet. Actually, I like that name, Solar Warden.
It sounds like the sun has a caretaker.
Yeah.
So, he's in charge of making sure that the sun gets his naps and his snacks at noon.
Sounds like
Weird.
an 80s. Sounds like an 80s metal band, kind of a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was thinking more like a comic book group or something, like Guardians of the Galaxy versus Solar Warden.
Could sound could be a villain.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's like that weird nuclear guy in that one Superman movie. But let's hear some more, and we get a little more insight into this secret space program.
So in the 1980s, we had a massive expansion of the space program. That's when a lot of the most advanced technology was built. So when they unveiled the stealth bomber, that thing had been mothballed and put away inside a bunker already for years and years and years. And they just every now and then bring out one of these fighter jets that was a money laundering Ponzi scheme and say, oh, look at this, the X-37. It's the new space shuttle, but we're not really telling you that we have it. We just kind of fly it up into space. That thing's a dinosaur. The space shuttle was a dinosaur. The stealth bomber is a dinosaur. Even the TR-3B, Flying Black Triangle, is like ancient technology. That's just a big old helium blimp that's in the shape of a giant mile-wide triangle. And then they land aircraft on the top, but it's all just made from hot air. And then they have these little anti-gravity generators on the three corners that are those little bright lights.
Yeah, all this stuff is just dinosaurs. Come on, y'all.
It's just a helium dinosaur. I don't like the way this guy's oversimplifying things. He's like, then you fucking make one, guy. Why don't you show us how it's done? Tell me how much on it. Jesus,
You know what though? I've always thought that myself, being a conspiracy theory guy, I always used to be like, oh, well, our wireless telephones, that's ancient technology to the government, because I actually think it is. I think it's just slowly like...
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with you on that. Like, I do agree with what he's saying about things aren't costing as much as they say they're costing. That's what pisses me off about dentistry bills and hospital bills. It's like, if you get Tylenol in the hospital, it's cost you a fucking arm and a leg, when it's that they just make up how much things cost.
Yeah.
I completely agree there. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't use a clip. But he does use the old go-to of the military $500 hammer and $1,000 toilet seat. You know, he does. Now, I haven't, before we get too far in and to where we can form our own opinion about David Wilcock, I'm going to read a really rosy description of him from one of his own websites. David Wilcock is the professional lecturer, filmmaker, and researcher of ancient civilizations, conscious science, and new paradigms of energy and matter. He is rewriting entire branches of science and leading a new narrative of human history, one that includes races of highly advanced beings that we share Earth and space with. The golden thread that weaves his work together is the science of ascension, a solar system-wide transformation that elevates Earth and humanity to a higher phase of spiritual advancement. So that's a very, I'm going to say a really, really rosy description of the man that we're going to be getting into today. So what do you think? Just hearing that, sounds like a great guy, right?
Oh yeah, he has golden threads, and it just sounded really glitzed up.
Yeah, it sounds like he wrote it. That's basically...
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It sounds like he wrote that about himself. He was sitting there, he's like typing it. He's like, no, hitting the delete button. No, I got to say this. No, I got to say this.
Yeah. He's like, and David has very large biceps, and he glistens in the sun.
His cock is 10 inches long.
Aliens love this man.
I bet his last name was Wilcox, and then he changed it to Wilcock just to focus on that more.
We're going to get into the elements of his name soon.
That was so fast. We already got there so fast.
I bet he did too.
It's going to happen regardless. But so yeah, what he's saying is that Solar Warden has been gearing up. Solar Warden, they're gearing up. But
yeah, for their world tour.
But there's more.
So Solar Warden, a lot of this technology, a lot of these really cool back-engineered UFOs and stuff were built in the 1980s. And the second faction that comes out of all this is what they call the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. And this is where we start to run into problems. This is a group that is composed of Lockheed Martin, Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, all of the military-industrial complex defense contractor companies are part of this ICC. They have now formed their own separate faction. They've broken away from the others, supposedly, and that's what people in Solar Warden and some of these other factions were led to believe. Now we seem to be hearing that they actually were all part of the Illuminati at the highest levels anyway, but these guys were the ones who actually went into business. Now, what am I saying? They went into business? Yes.
Oh.
It turns out that our solar system is in a very, very advantageous location in our galaxy.
Yeah, so now we have another player, the ICC, not the ICP. This is the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. I might trust the ICP more than the ICC.
Intergalactic? Is it intergalactic and planetary?
Yes.
Planetary intergalactic.
Hell yeah. Bring it
back. And yeah, there's actually something related to that soon. But oh
my goodness,
yeah. So there's going to be a lot of weird coincidences. So he says that where we live in our solar system is advantageous. Now, so as far as aliens go, so what's so special about our galaxy to aliens? Let's hear, Dave.
Because of the angle of the arm of our galaxy, most of the ETs from the remainder of the galaxy have to pass us by to get to this black hole to go to other galaxies. We're at the hub. We have the gas station right on the sweet spot of the intersection in town. So all these other ETs have to go by. So what have they been doing? They've been bartering with thousands and thousands of different ET civilizations and doing technology exchange, where in exchange for us selling